All right, it's been a couple of days. I had to work a couple of trips. I had a gig to do, motherhood, business, all the things. So I'm back, and we are diving into chapter 4 of Addicted to Monsters. So chapter 4 is about this chapter of my life is about my relationship. The next monster, we will call him DC, like DC Comics. The funny thing is, I have a friend. His nickname is actually DC. Those are his initials. Not related at all to this, but I remember the first time I met him, I almost messed up my blessing of a great relationship and friendship and camaraderie with him. He is a music producer. Shout out to producer DC Clark. Love you much, man. See, I don't hate men. I don't hate all men, because this is DC. The real DC is actually someone that I really love and respect. But a funny story. He's the first message he sent me was strictly professional. We were working with the same gospel artist at the time, and he was kind of just looking around for different things, and I wound up being able to provide some music for a soundtrack. So actually, thank you, DC. You were the first person to put some of my music in a movie soundtrack. So cool. But I was so scarred by my relationship with the DC Comics guy. When he inboxed me, and I saw his name, I was like, oh God, nope, I don't want nothing to do with you just because of your name. And I kind of said it jokingly, and him being the very kind and compassionate person that he is, I vented a little bit, which I don't recommend anyone do that, but that's just where I was at that time. And once I got done venting about that, he actually offered some really some kindness and some compassion. We moved past that very quickly and wound up cultivating a really nice, a very nice relationship in the midst of us meeting in the middle of some of my trauma. So so this chapter, I kind of had a Reese Tisa moment with this guy, because I ain't gonna lie, if you guys ever see him, you'll be like, really, Nikki, seriously, good and well, what was you thinking? Yeah, it's one of them stories. So I am living in DeSoto, Texas. Newly single mom, divorced from the first husband, no longer a preacher's wife. But I had an incredible opportunity through a person who I would lovingly call her my godmother. She was like a second mom to me, her and her husband. And shout out to them, Ruth and Tom. I will say their names. I think they'd be fine with that. And they are a beautiful interracial relationship. And for a big part of my life, one of the few, and I mean less than 5 marriages that I could always look to and see friendship and love there. And their home, even when I was in high school, when it was just her by herself, her home was always a place of peace for me. I would go to her home just to eat up her food and have some peace and quiet. And she had a bunk bed. She had 2 younger sons, and I would get up in that bunk bed and just want to be by myself for days and just cry. But I knew I could do that. It was a safe space for me. And she was a therapist at the time and a piano player. And so she just listened. So I'm forever grateful for her. So, coming out of the first marriage, needing a safe space to go and just regroup. And I was able to do that with her and her husband. They had a beautiful home in DeSoto. Beautiful home. And Michaela and I were able to stay there. They, paying them rent was not an option for them. And I'm so grateful for that too. They put me in Financial Peace University. I was able to immediately get back with the company and Taylor. I loved working with them. I was so I got a pretty decent job as a manager, lower level manager. And I was just going back there to just get back on my feet, get back in music school, get back into the music scene working, and just get a job and get on with my life. So that's what I was doing. I wound up getting connected with an incredible church called Concord Church. And I would actually to this day recommend that church to anyone. At that time, my daughter started joining their dance ministry, which was not just, some throwing your arms and legs around and pretending like you were dancing. It was the real deal. So she was learning real professional dance. And I wound up being able to be one of their news correspondents, which was really awesome. So getting some really cool professional skills and practice in that area. And I think that was kind of my first taste at getting in front of the TV camera, and it launched something bigger for me later. So thank you to Concord for that. I wish I could get a hold of those old videos I did. It was really cool. So everything's going good. And just like the enemy does, the enemy comes in to try to, throw a monkey wrench in your plans. If you believe in that whole spiritual principle, and I still do, that when you're on your path, distractions are going to come, and you know, especially if the enemy sees that you're onto something great, he, if that's what you want to call it, will try to destroy. And that is exactly what happened. I was on my way again, just back on a great path. Single mom, didn't matter, still moving forward, and I was moving forward strong and healthy, happy, whole, all that. So this guy that was going to the church starts reaching out to me. His daughter's in Girl Scouts. My daughter's in Girl Scouts. It seemed he presented himself to be a man of God. First of all, that should have been my red flag, but I still had hope. I still had a whole lot of hope in men, and even those type of men. After everything I've been through, for some reason, I still did. I had a lot of hope in XYs. And he presented well, I must say. He presented well. You know, he didn't come at me disrespectfully. He was very respectful. And, you know, the compliments were on point. His presentation was on point. He did a little bit of homework, so he knew that, you know, me being a singer and an artist, I would love poetry. He started sending me some poetry. Y'all, later on, when everything blew up, you know, when everything blows up, you start becoming an FBI detective about everything. I went back and I Googled that poetry. Y'all, tell me why this fool, all he did was probably do the same thing. This stuff that he was sending me was straight up plagiarized. I'm thinking that he's telling me he's writing this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, he's writing me sonnets. Oh, this is poetic. Y'all, he was Googling stuff and just sending it to me. This is why I'm like, yeah, I look just as foolish as Risa Tisa with this one. Because when I tell you this man was a fraudster, like Legion, this dude right here he has to be a descendant of Legion. He's like one of Legion's little cousins or something. This is Legion's first cousin, DC Comics. That's why I call it DC Comedy, because like everything about him and what he did and the way I fell for it it's comical. I can go back and laugh at it now. I really can. Because it was just an astronomical level of effery, okay? It really was. And I can laugh at myself. It is what it is. So, you know, these people, they do not come with these disclaimers. There's no neon light that says, hey, I'm a fraud. And he was, you know, for who I was at that time, he was really good at it. And you've got to also remember, I grew up with men who were narcissistic, who were big liars, who were big fraudsters. Two of the most important men in my life, both of them were that. Both of them. It's sobering. And it kind of hurts still to say it out loud, because the two most important men in my life that I literally, like, I trusted with my life, and they both were entrusted with my life, and they both baptized me. Both of them baptized me together. One of them is a narcissistic abuser. Both of them are narcissistic abusers. And the other one, every woman that I've ever talked to about him, they have all said the same thing. No matter what state or city they come from, they all say the same thing, that they are afraid of him. He is a dark man. He is a scary man. And he is a fraud. And they both are incredibly intelligent. One of them speaks many languages. And I mean, even to this day, he just wows you. Like, I'm so wowed by him. And I'm equally, as much as I'm wowed by one more than the other, and as much as they can leave you in shock and awe in an amazing way because of how incredible they are in so many ways, they're equally as dangerous. So this was my whole life. This was normal to me. And this is why DC Comics was able to pinpoint me as ripe for the picking and create a lifetime of some things that I'll never be able to maybe fully overcome. I'm not sure. So, all right, here it is. That's wrapping up part 1, chapter 3, part 1. DC Comics, Legion's cousin. That's what we'll call this. That's what we'll call chapter. I'm sorry, it's chapter 4. I said chapter 3. Chapter 4, part 1. Yep. So chapter 4, part 1. DC Comics, Legion's cousin. Here we go.